I tell you why, because again there's this question of important cases, as I said, which are politically inconvenient to the government are put on hold. But then cases where the government wants a speedy hearing, and you'd be aware of this, that when there was this hearing on Saturday convened to hear the case of GN Saibaba, who was charged, in the Maoist case, he was granted bail by the High Court. The Maharashtra government challenges, and an unusual Saturday hearing was heard.
Why unusual?
Because many believe it's unprecedented for the
Why
Supreme Court to hear a matter on Saturday, especially when it comes to suspend an order of discharge and acquittal and keep people in jail. You don't think it's unusual at all?
I look at it this way. See, as a Chief Justice, because I formed that bench,
yes,
correct? So therefore, I must also explain in what circumstances the bench came to be formed and how.
Okay.
See, as Chief Justice, I had 2 occasions to form special benches. One, immediately, I think the second day that I took over, my first working day was 29th.
Right.
30th was the second day.
Right.
31st was Ganesh Chaturthi day. So there was this Ganesh Chaturthi program. The Karnataka government had allowed Ganesh Chaturthi Pandal to be erected at one of the Idgah Maidans. So there was a challenge. The matter came before a bench of Justice Hemant Gupta and Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia on 30th. There was a disagreement between them. So I was in a bench with Justice Ravindra Bhatt, and at 3:45 we were to sit along with Justice Dhulia in another 3-judge combination. So at 3:40 or so, 2 counsel, Kapil Sibal and Dushyant Dave, came and mentioned the matter, saying that there is a disagreement. I said, I am going to be in a combination of 3, so I can logically hear that, but there is Justice Dhulia part of that, who was part of the earlier bench, where there was a disagreement. So I said, give me 5 minutes, I'll rise. We rose, and I just got hold of the judges who were available in the courts.
To form the
bench.
Okay.
4 of them came to my chamber. Justice Kaul, Justice Banerjee. Justice Kaul was sitting with Justice Oak. Banerjee was sitting with Justice Sundaresh.
Right.
Justice Kaul had some difficulty, so I formed a bench of 3 of them. At 5:30, the bench again took over. Correct?
Okay.
So these are the kind of situations where a Chief Justice has to form a bench as early as possible.
But why would the
Now
necessity be this case?
I'll again come to that. The matter was mentioned that day, Friday was the last working day of Justice Hemant Gupta.
Right.
So Hemant Gupta, the normal convention is that the retiring judge sits with the Chief Justice. So he was sitting with me. We rose at 1 o'clock. The matter, therefore, because the Chief Justice's court was not available, the matter got mentioned before Judge number 2, that is Justice Chandrachud.
Right.
It was around 3:40 or 3:45 that the matter was mentioned. The prayer was, of course, for stay. This I got to know after everything. And the request was made that let there be a bench on Saturday. The order records the submission that yes, this is the submission. So I was about to, because 4:30 is the normal farewell by the bar to the retiring judge. So I was about to leave for that. That's when the registry officials come to me and say that, sir, there is an order which has been passed which contemplates forming a bench on Saturday.
But Justice Chandrachud, from what I understand, had refused. He refused to say that.
But how do I know?
Okay.
How do I know at that point?
You weren't aware that he had
I wasn't
said that
aware.
there was no
I
need.
wasn't
What was the
aware
tearing
because,
hurry?
because the registry official simply came to me that there is a bench to be formed.
Okay.
So I said, very well, I'll be meeting all the judges now there at the farewell itself.
Okay.
So I leave for the farewell. The first judge that I wish to contact is Justice Chandrachud himself. I asked him, is there an order that you have passed? He said, yes. I said, then the next question, will you be part of that bench? That special bench to be formed on Saturday. He had some commitments, so he said that in the major part of the day I am not free. There are 3 other judges who are standing there close by. Justice Rastogi, Justice
Shah.
B.R. Gawai,
Right.
B.R. Gawai, and Justice Ravindra Bhatt. So I asked each one of them, will you be part of that special bench? Justice Rastogi again had some prior commitments. Justice Gawai had prior commitments, so therefore both of them refused. I asked Justice Ravindra Bhatt, that will you be there? He says, I have some judgment commitments, I need to finish them. So in case you don't get anybody, then I am certainly willing, as a default arrangement. So I turned to other judges who were standing close by. One of them is Justice Suryakant. I asked him. He again says no, he has some commitments. Next to him was standing Justice Bela Trivedi. So I asked Justice Bela Trivedi. She says yes.
Okay.
So she said yes. Then the next man that I bump into is Justice M.R. Shah.
Okay.
So I asked him. He said yes.
So that's how the two of them
That is how two of them got together to form a bench. Neither of us, nor neither Justice M.R. Shah, nor Justice Bela Trivedi, nor me are aware as to what exactly had happened in the court.
No, but when you met Justice Chandrachud, he didn't mention the fact that he had actually said no to a speedy trial, because he said, what's the hurry, it can be heard.
No, he didn't say that. In fact, I asked him,
yes,
will you be part of the bench on Saturday? He said he has certain commitments.
I see. But were you aware of what the matter was? What was the issue that was being sought?
See, the paper book doesn't come to the Chief Justice.
Okay.
Only the order came before me.
So you weren't aware that this had to do with Mr. Saibaba?
Order after name, so and so versus Saibaba.
Yeah.
Correct, yes. But what was the context, what kind of matter, what kind of prayer? So this is how the bench got formed on a Saturday. And I don't think anything unusual in that, because two things. As a Chief Justice, my job is to make the bench available if the occasion demands that.
Yes.
In the first case, the occasion demanded. Why? Because the next day was Ganesh Chaturthi. I couldn't have listed the matter next day.
Sure.
Therefore, it had to be done at 5 o'clock that day itself. Similarly here, if the order had actually recorded the submission that if the urgency is there, then Saturday can be convened. So therefore, the order said that, therefore I convened the bench. What happens before the bench is a completely different issue.
I see. Okay, this is interesting, because at times some of this criticism, right, that judges or the Supreme Court is acting in a motivated way or is serving the interests of the political executive can be unfair as well.
Absolutely unfair. These are 4 or 5 judges, and all these conversations happened perhaps in the earshot of all the office bearers of Supreme Court Bar Association
they were all
as well. So we were just standing together. As I entered the hall, the first person that I wanted to meet was Justice Chandrachud.
Okay, I ask this because even at the time when I talk about criticism that can be unfair, at the time even when you were appointed, you would have come across this, right? There were some questions about whether, because you had appeared for Amit Shah in the encounter case when you were a lawyer, that is this being done as a kind of a reward for that?
Not at all. See, for instance, I think the government changed sometime in May.
2014.
May 16th or something. I was asked for the first time in first week of April. So April initially sounded.
This is before there's a regime change.
Before the government took over. When the earlier regime was still in place, I was sounded through a emissary which was sent by Justice Lodha. That was my senior himself, Justice Mr. Sorabji. So he asked me on behalf of
Soli Sorabji was the intermediary.
So therefore he asked me whether will I be willing. I said yes. Then they wanted some kind of documents, that is to say your income tax returns, your bar association enrollment, and so on and so forth, which I furnished sometime in last week of April.
Right.
On 8th of May, I had a sitting with Justice Lodha when he formally made an invitation, gave me an invitation to be part of the bench. 16th of May is the government changeover. Correct? So therefore, the process had begun well
before the change of regime.
Before that. So secondly, it is true that I had appeared for Amit Shah, but very inconsequential appearance.
Okay.
His main counsel was always Ram Jetmalani. What happens is, if a counsel is not available on a particular day and the matter is going to get adjourned, then people don't brief the lead counsel. So in that capacity, I was briefed in the matter, I did appear, but it was a very inconsequential hearing. I used to appear for his co-accused.
Okay. In the
his
same cases.
Not in Sohrabuddin murder matter.
Right.
There were two trials which were going on simultaneously. One was, of course, Sohrabuddin murder. Then the other was that while investigating into Sohrabuddin murder, there was some pressure which was getting employed on certain witnesses.
Right.
So therefore, there was a separate FIR. In that FIR, I was appearing for the accused who were supposed to be the persons who were wielding pressure.
So this was not, in a sense, as you said, the main Amit Shah matter. This was much more of an inconsequential thing. Because I mean, subsequently, even if you look at some of the orders you gave when you were in the position of Chief Justice, whether it's the Siddiq Kapan case, whether it's the Teesta Sarwar case.
See, again
these are, this is when it comes to matters of personal liberty. You ruled in the favor of release.
Again, that's a misconception that a judge has to decide in particular way. A judge decides the matter on the facts and law which is presented before him.
Right.
And that's why I say it is independent judiciary.
That's why you continue to maintain that it's independent judiciary.